right, so we have, count them, 4 more new cards revealed today, and we're going to break them down real quick. We got 2 Freljord and 2 Targonian cards, which leads me to believe that they're going to be spoiling next the Targonian champion, probably Soraka, hopefully Soraka, because we already have the Freljord champion in Trundle that was revealed. So hopefully we'll get another Targon champion coming up tomorrow. But until then, my name is Justin, also known as Shit Just Works. And today we are going over 4 new cards from the Monuments of Power expansion. All right, first up, we have probably my favorite of all these cards revealed. I'm not crazy about the others, but this one definitely gives some additional support to Ramp. We have an 8-cost burst speed, Voices of the Old Ones. If that picture looks familiar, that is because it is. Faces of the Old Ones is basically the same picture, but turned the other way. So yeah. So reusing that picture there, but not the exact same card effect. This one is get 2 empty mana crystals. So very similar to Catalyst of Aeons in that regard. Catalyst costing obviously 5 mana burst speed, but also heals you for 3. This gives you 2 empty mana crystals for 8. That seems like a really good deal. You're essentially paying 4 as opposed to the 5 that you're paying for the Catalyst of Aeons, but you're not getting the heal. But wait, you are getting some 8+ cost units, which obviously this is kind of how this whole ramp strategy has been working with Trundle. You play these 8+ cost cards to get these ramp effects, and this is going to get every 8+ cost card in the top 4 cards of your deck. So actually, ultimately, I think provides more value than Catalyst of Aeons. The problem is this cannot be played until turn 5, right? And obviously, ramp inherently wants to ramp up early. So the risk, it's a little bit risky to play late game ramp like this when all this is trying to do is get you up to your 10th mana crystal. Well, if you're already there by the time you draw, this doesn't really do anything. So you really only have turn 5, 6, 7, and 8. Not even really 5, 6, and 7, because if you play it on turn 7, then the very next turn you'll be at 10 mana. You want to try to get this only between those very 3 specific turns. With that said, if you play it later on in the game, it does allow you to, draw more cards, especially if you're going all in on this 8+ cost strategy. Because, very notably, this does not say champion, does not say follower, does not say spell. It's any card. So if you do have enough cards in that deck, it's usually going to be a draw 2, generally speaking, which I think is pretty good. All right, and for the second Freljord card, we have another landmark. Let's go. The Howling Abyss. This is a big boy. This is a 7-cost landmark. And this is round start, create in hand a random level 2 champion that's not in your hand, deck, or play. Wow. Wow. Yeah, okay. Well, wow. You want to talk about some crazy RNG? We got it. So there's a lot of question marks here, though, right? So for starters, we could not really, I don't know, this might not really have that big of an impact because you're not really going to get anything from it until the next turn. So it's a very big mana investment to just basically get draw 1 as an example. However, we are getting champions. So that's the thing. Champions are a big deal. And level 2, no less. So now, the other thing, too, is that you can't get one that's already in play, so this does avoid or prevent you from being able to get champion spells. I don't even know if they really needed to distinguish that with this card. I don't know if there's some sort of future cards or future card designs that maybe they're worried about, which is why they made that specific choice. And the reason I say that is because, again, you're getting really delayed results with this, and as somebody corrected me in my last video, if you do watch the first video where they reveal landmarks, it doesn't look like you can spend spell mana to play landmarks, which is definitely a big deal. It means you cannot get this out as early as turn 4 as you'd think, which kind of sucks, just like the other landmarks as well. So, and again, another big question mark is how many tools will there be to actually deal with these? So we do already have cards like Crumble that we went over in the last video, that are already being released to deal with stuff like, this landmark, Crumble costing 5, So, I mean, as far as the cost is concerned, they seem evenly balanced. But I don't know. This card, it's going to be hard to really play a deck around this. I think this is going to be more of a meme card for now. But I am very curious to see what kind of wonky decks pop up with this. Wow, this is some crazy RNG. All right, on to the 2 Targonian cards. We have, first up, Crystal Ibex. 4 mana, 4/4. Play, grant an ally Overwhelm. So this card is interesting. My first kind of thought with this is Nightfall aggro, as it does already have Overwhelm units in there with something like Crescent Guardian. Crescent Guardian costing 3 is a 5/3 with Overwhelm, so very similar stats as far as that's concerned. You do need to proc Nightfall in order to get the additional 2 attack. But Crystal Ibex would be pretty good with that as well, being able to grant some larger units that you might play Overwhelm. I just don't really know what you'd pair it with, because generally speaking in Nightfall aggro, there's not really huge attack units. I mean, you do have something like Cygnus. Cygnus isn't really going to get blocked anyways. You do have the other elusive units, so I'm not crazy about this. It's just the first thing that comes to mind. The other thing, too, is that when you compare this to some of the other 4-mana Overwhelm units, so we have Crowd Favorite, which generally speaking is going to be higher than 4 attacks, usually going to be a 5/4 or a 6/5, which is pretty good if you're playing it in the deck it's supposed to be played with. And then you have Wolf Rider, which is a 4 attack Overwhelm as well. And for 1 less health, you have the Plunder, gain an empty mana crystal. And then Basilisk Rider, +1/+1 for Allegiance Overwhelm is a 5/4. Actually kind of makes Basilisk Rider feel kind of bad ever since that nerf, so that stands to reason. And Aversion Outriders actually still feels amazing. It ends up with 6/6 stats total with Overwhelm. So I don't know, it does have some versatility in it being able to give a different unit Overwhelm, but I'm not super impressed with this card. It's a decent body too. I mean, when you look at something like Loyal Badger Bear that's a 3/4 for 3 mana, you're basically paying 1 more mana for 1 attack and Overwhelm. It's not bad, but again, Nightfall might not work so well. Probably more of some sort of mid-range Targon deck, and I don't really know that we have any sort of mid-range Targon deck as it currently stands, so I doubt this will see play to start. So really, this is just an okay card at this point. All right, and last but not least, another Targonian card. We have, this is really weird. I was not expecting a card with this sort of effect. Sneaky Zeebles. First off, the name. It's going to be a rough one to remember. Second off, all right, so this is a 3/3 elusive for 5 mana. So if you compare this to some of the other 5 mana elusives, you have Abyssal Eye, which is 3/3 elusive, and then it has the strike effect. So that's probably the most comparable thing. So then you're just kind of comparing the effects there. And Abyssal Eye is Nexus Strike, draw a card. This is play stun. So this is going to happen immediately, whereas Abyssal Eye you kind of have to set up a little bit. Stun enemies with 2 or less power. Now, I've had discussions with people before where Abyssal Eye might just be a good add in like non-deep decks, non-sea monster decks, just because like Nexus Strike draw card is not necessarily bad. But there's a reason why we're not really seeing it in decks outside of deep sea monsters, and it's because I think that a 5-cost 3/3 elusive is just not quite enough stats. Like usually elusive units are understated for their cost because they're elusive, but this seems to be a little too much. If you go with something like Slippery Wave Rider as an example, that ends up being a 4-cost for 4/4 after the attune, which is why Slippery Wave Rider actually sees play. So that attune effect, I think, is actually more attune and +1/+1 is more valuable, I think, than stun enemies with 2 or less power. Now, this brings me back to the whole like elusive OTK sort of days, but I don't know if Ionia Targon is going to be a thing as far as elusive is concerned. And then again, stun, you go the Swain or Yasuo route. Like this doesn't really seem to have a spot. So I'm really curious to see where this gets fit in, but I don't think this is going to see any play. I think this might need maybe increased health to really be good, and even then it might not still see play. So kind of a weird card. Very, very awkward. All right, that's it. Only 4 cards today, but God, am I excited for tomorrow's reveal. I cannot wait to see what champion's going to be up next. I believe we have Soraka and Zoe are the last 2 champions from Targon. I don't know if I have that right. There's so many spoilers and stuff. I can't even keep up with them anymore. I saw these champions were spoiled like 7 months ago when Bilgewater came out because of the audio files that were leaked or whatever. So yeah, I don't really know. I think it's Zoe. I think it's Soraka. We'll see. But as always, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did. Stay healthy. Stay positive. I hope shit just works for you. And peace out.